So I want to talk about sound monitoring, because this is something that I get a lot of questions about. And when we think about indoor environmental quality in the workplace or the built environment, there's really three buckets. There's indoor air quality, there is light, and then there's acoustics or sound. And so it's natural to think, let me get data for as many of these as possible so that I can create an amazing workplace, an amazing indoor environment. And the problem is that when it comes to sound, it's actually really complicated, because the vast majority of sensors or devices that exist on the market today are really focused on a single reading, and that is decibels. What is the level of the sound? There are many problems with this, however. First of all, not all sounds are created equal. So for example, I have two sounds here. I'm playing these both at the same decibel level, but you will notice that one of them is much more annoying than the other. This is quite pleasant. Versus yeah, not really pleasant. So to a sound monitor, those two sounds would look identical. To a human being, one of them is like, ah, spa. The other one is like, get me out of here. And again, when you look at the data, those two would look identical if you're just looking at a single decibel reading. And that's not even considering the problems of how frequent the measurements are, right? Are you looking at a measurement every second? Are you looking at a measurement once a minute? Is it an average over 10 minutes? And some sounds that we might find in an office environment, for example, you might have a low-pitched humming coming from your HVAC systems. That's not too bad. We're all used to that. If you have a high-pitched humming coming from a piece of faulty electrical equipment that's going, that makes you want to jump out of a window, right? So we need to be able to have this sort of context enabled in order to turn that data into any sort of insight and any sort of kind of actionable change. It's also important to look at things like, is the humming constant? If you have HVAC equipment that is turning on and off every 15 seconds, that might also drive somebody insane. But we don't get this sort of insight from most of the data that is available today. So there's this really nice hope that we'll be able to get great acoustical, real-time, continuous sensor data, and then turn that into insights and create a better environment within our buildings. But I think the reality is that for the vast majority of technology, and thus the vast majority of users that are out there today, we're just not quite there yet. I do have high hopes for this. I think there's a lot of progress being made in this direction, but I would strongly recommend against implementing sound monitoring technology for the vast majority of people out there, because the technology simply isn't yet at a place where it is going to deliver value to the majority of users. Now, this, by the way, does not mean that you shouldn't hire an engineer, an acoustic specialist to come in and take some readings and try to help you optimize your space. That is absolutely valuable, but continuous sound monitoring data that can be turned into true action, not quite there yet. And then there's the topic of privacy, which is, that's a whole other thing. Whether or not it is a problem to have what is essentially a microphone sitting in your office or potentially in every single meeting room in your company. That is a whole other discussion for another day. If you'd be interested in getting into the weeds of that, let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to share some thoughts on this one, because again, this is a topic on which I have some strong opinions.